Hi there, my name is Julie. I like to talk about spiritual stuff. We're going to do a reading. I always kind of ramble on a little bit at the beginning of the videos, so here's my ramble. I usually share about what I've been healing in myself, what I've realized, wisdom gained, challenges faced. I share them here sometimes, and most recently I've been working to heal a deeper layer of narcissistic abuse that I have grown up with. And it's, I'm not scared. I feel a little bit like, just like, well, eager and ready and wanting to feel and process, but also realizing like maybe this is more of I've already done that part, right? And it didn't like move me out of it fully. I got left with this more apathetic kind of low-level blah feeling. And I think that's because, there's a need behind this that's unmet in me. And that's a need for connection and a need for just, trusting another human being to actually love me, to, have my back and, put my well-being level with theirs. And it's not like you can just snap your fingers and have that done. So, but what I can do is practice being that for myself, showing up for myself and making sure that when I get those feelings of blah and feels like I should have some sort of feedback of a loving person in my life, that I make sure that I'm at least that loving person in my life, And then it's practicing being in relationship with family members without that drama triangle way of relating, where someone has to be the victim, someone's the savior, and someone's the persecutor. And the roles switch around. But I've definitely noticed that that pattern was still alive in at least one of the relationships, and then where I was kind of forced to still be in that. I easily fell back into that, I guess I would say, because the only room for relating to that person was in that. And then I also was doing that with one of my sons. And, of course, that brought up all kinds of feelings about guilt and shame and just kind of like, oh, I've got to love this part of myself who not only received this treatment, but also perpetuated this treatment. And I don't like it one bit. So it's been some processing that I've been going through, and more or less I've been with the feelings and all of that stuff. So it's been a matter of practicing being present so that instead of relating to somebody else on the premise of what has been, that I start relating to people in real time and presence so that I can be presented with the information without deciding, what the energy says or what the past says or whatever it is. Whatever story that I've previously told or could tell based on the momentum that I perceive. I can easily jump a timeline if I'm in the present moment. It'll be easier to perceive other options for how this energy is going to interact with me. So it's been more practicing that. And I think just because of the way I grew up, a lot of my coping mechanism was to be hypervigilant, to read into somebody's energy, to predict what was going on. But also what goes along with that is just mostly expecting people to disappoint me or to not show up in a way that's healthy or fair or right or. And so with those kind of expectations, I end up it's self-fulfilling prophecies a lot of times, not always. But if there's a person who is in a soul contract with me to play that role and I've still got that energy, they're going to have to play that role, you know? So I've just been setting myself up to not tell those old stories anymore and to open myself to the possibilities. And that does not mean ignore when people aren't, good, upright, or whatever with me. It just means opening myself to the possibility that it's not the way that I think it is or perceived it was. So it's taking practice because, I could be in presence on a lot of topics, but not this one. I mean, I can be, but I hadn't been, so I'm not well practiced on it. And I think it mostly comes up in my family relationships because that's where it was mostly a threat. And then the coping mechanism was to just keep the circle small. So a lot of my friends are people who don't require constant contact because that's comfortable and safe for me, based on the way that I grew up and based on the fact that I felt like I have to manage other people's emotions. So I'm shifting out of that pattern, and that's well worth the efforts, or the allowing, I should say. Yeah, so let's take a look at a reading, and I'm going to request that this reading not be for me unless, it happens that the most helpful message applies to me and others. Mostly I would like a message for the collective that is drawn to this. It may or may not tie into what I've shared about my own process right now. But let's go to the Oracle on my app, which is companionjulie.com. I have an Oracle here with 11 card pickers on it. So it offers information to reflect on, and we're going to use it for this reading. Okay. I have pulled the cards. I think I just went like that because this reading looks so similar to a reading that I just did for myself yesterday. Some of the same cards came up, but that's okay. Here we go. Heart of the matter I see. And this I see is the Immium Coli. Not sure if that's how you pronounce it actually, but in astrology that is the root, the family home, the ancestry of a person. So that's what we're looking at as the heart of the matter. Influencing on a practical level, MC, that's the midheaven, and that is the place where the world sees you, where your career would be shown, where your contact with the world is. So on a practical level, how the world sees you is coming in to the heart of the matter, which is the root of who you are. Influencing on an emotional level is Taurus. Taurus is the sign that's representing Venus. It's Venus energy, it's love. It's also steady, solid, stable. So the emotional body seems to be steady, solid, stable, and loving. Okay? Or wants to be, or is being influenced in that way. Opportunity, Sezi Quadrate. I would say a Sezi Quadrate is a slight tension, but I want to look it up. Sezi quadrate, meaning. It's an angle, it's a particular angle that's used in astrology. An aspect between two celestial bodies that are 135 degrees apart. Considered a minor aspect equivalent to 1.5 squares. In astrology, it represents a challenging but dynamic energy. Similar to a square but less intense, it can manifest as inner conflicts or feelings of being pulled in different directions. Okay. That's an opportunity to be pulled in a different direction. Wow, okay. You've been doing something for a while. It was naturally what you were drawn to because of the way you grew up. You're steady in it. You're solid. But there may be another direction that you're subtly being shown. And I think it would be for your career. Challenging factor, Poseidon. Right? Let's look at Poseidon's mythology. I mean, I know that he's like the god of the sea, right? Poseidon. God of the sea, earthquakes, and horses. He's often depicted as a powerful and moody deity wielding a trident, which he uses to control the ocean and cause storms. His Roman counterpart is Neptune. Okay, son of Cronus, brother of Zeus and Hades. What is he best known for? Sea, storms, earthquakes, as well as horses. He's famous for his distinctive symbol, the trident. His unpredictable and often volatile temperament is a reflection of the unpredictable nature of the sea. Okay. So that's a challenging factor. There may be some emotions to work through, but you're more in a steady place. It's like you're in a stable place, so maybe you're not really inclined to upset that. Like don't upset the apple cart. Balance out the moon. The moon it means like you can't see everything. But it also can be representative of emotions, mother, nostalgia. It's like there is something in the past for you to be angry about. There's something in the past for you to be angry about. And if you can get through and process that anger, which you're not even clear on it, right? It's like, okay, so you could logically just redefine the story and then just like be like, I don't feel angry about it because why should I if that's not the way it was? Or I can tell this other story about it. But this is kind of saying like, no, like you'll bypass it if you just change your story without actually feeling this emotion, and it's kind of buried. It's a very subtle thing with Sezi Quadrate. This is subtle, so slowing down and being in the moment is going to help you feel it. All right, let's get some concept cards. What are we going to ask? Tell us more about just the point of this reading. Like what are we trying to achieve with this reading? Your environment, learn new. How this affects you, open to possibility. An underlying issue, 1 month. Changes needed, 2 days. What helps, envy. What hinders, trusting. I mean, maybe envy was never allowed, and like, if you had it, if no one in the family allowed for it, it might have been brushed under the carpet, suppressed, denied, you know? There's something here that would be new to you, that you have a possibility to open to now. Timing seems to be an issue. You might be trying to rush yourself, or just surrendering and having faith that it'll all work out. But actually, it's like, no, there's something that it's like an opportunity, so you can miss it, you know? Okay, what needs to be processed for feelings? Let's look at root causes. What needs to be... Oh, yeah. This message is becoming very, very clear here. It's just saying the same kind of things in each spread, so I like that because I feel pretty confident that we're getting this right. Unknown cause, routine. You've just been doing this for a while. Known cause, offensive. I think you would refrain from feeling the thing that's going to anger you, or you feel angry about, or your expression would be harsh towards somebody. I think it's maybe perceived as offensive and therefore wrong or off limits for you. Influencing outcome, rallying others. Wow. It's like you really unlock something for not only for yourself but for others who see this in you. Lighter influence, humor. Solved, desperation. Like, you are just kind of going with the flow a little bit. So that's good, but assisting you is the betrayal. So recently you have felt betrayed, and maybe it is because you awakened to a pattern that you've been carrying, like I was talking about for myself in the beginning of this. So you awaken to a pattern that you've been carrying, and maybe there's this usual way that you would deal with that or cope with that, and it's like born from the family that you were in, or how you grew up, or like just like how it's always done. And it's easy to kind of fall back into that pattern and kind of follow that, but this is saying no, there's an opportunity here to step out of that same old way of doing it. And actually, if you would go through the uncomfortable feeling that you would avoid if you were to go the usual way, if you go through that feeling, become the version of yourself who can handle that feeling, which is I think it's a very darker feeling, but it is saying, like, you could use humor. Like, there is some humor to be found in this. But it's like, how do you feel when you're betrayed? You feel hurt, you feel grief, you feel, whatever it is that you feel, like maybe you feel victimized and things like that. Being aware of envy, maybe someone else's envy came into it, or maybe yours. And if you just trust where you've been betrayed, if you just decide, oh, I'm just going to trust again, like, that is going to hinder you. There's something else for you to know here. And it's either just like this opportunity to be inspired after you've processed through the emotions, or like there's more information that you've been glossing over, not bothering to look into. So you don't see the opportunity because you haven't bothered to look deeper. And maybe it's because you are afraid of having to process something uncomfortable. You don't want to see it. And I can really relate to that. Supportive resources, Scorpio. So it will help you to go into the underworld, go into your shadow, self-inquire, do some reflection. This is exactly what I designed my app to do, is to walk you through. It has some like self-inquiry kind of questions that can help you kind of dig a little bit deeper with a little bit of guidance, and to keep you, kind of grounded and contained within the process of it. Of course, you do have to take responsibility for yourself and not harming yourself or anyone else when you do it. But if you do feel ready, that could be a good resource if you are finding yourself alone without somebody to talk to about it and you feel the need. Change is needed. What would love do? It's like you have been just applying love I think you've just been, maybe even you would call it taking the high road. And it's like, that's not going to help this situation, because that will enable this situation to be bypassed continuously. Add more Dejanira. It's saying, Dejanira, the mythology around her is that she was victimized. Let yourself feel the fact that you have been victimized. It doesn't mean you're going to stay feeling that way forever. It just means that this is the process of becoming the version of yourself who can face this, handle this, process this, so you don't have to cope anymore. And the coping was actually really limiting you, because it was keeping you in a routine pattern, a pattern that you've outlived, that is past its expiry. It's like time to be moving on from it at a slow and steady pace, I would say. You can utilize the skills that you have, like for the Taurus, keeping up the pattern and staying regular and on point. Like, you can utilize that, but maybe put it in a different direction. What to surrender? Reflection. It's kind of saying, like, you don't have to like try to dig and figure this out. I think if this reading's for you, you know what I'm talking about. You know the thing that comes to mind where you feel betrayed and that you've just kind of been putting up with it. Opportunity, skills assessment. There is something that you do, that you have, that you can utilize in order to help you with this. So this opportunity, I think it might have something to do with paying attention to those subtle things, that subtle upset, that Sezi Quadre energy, which is a more like subtle tension. It's like you know how to tune into subtle tension. That is a skill that you have. And there's an opportunity to utilize it and hone it. Action to take, strategy. Say somebody has betrayed you. It's not always wise to just go headlong into the situation and then accuse them and tell them and put them in their place and all that, right? Sometimes those people are in positions of authority. Sometimes they're in a position to sabotage you or retaliate in a way or humiliate you, or it'll cause yourself more harm and making yourself vulnerable in the wrong way if you do that. Sometimes instead of taking the high road, you take the upper hand by making a strategy to take the next steps that you'll need to take, given the information you have. But I would say that it's saying to process the emotion first, because right now you don't see things fully clear. You're seeing through the lens of the wound. And you're going to continue seeing through the lens of the wound until you take the time to process these uncomfortable feelings. They are uncomfortable feelings, and it's like you can't really get around that. So look at Poseidon, right? Like those kind of feelings. He's kind of angry, but he is the boss. And in some of the mythologies, the stories, maybe he's not a terrible person or anything like that, right? It's just like the way he's ruling things is turbulent for people, and I think you've been smoothing things over for a long time, and it's like there's an opportunity in this turbulence, and I think I want to say that, like, the strategy isn't necessarily to decide the outcome or how it's going to go or how you should act exactly. Maybe the strategy is more like letting the situation impress upon you, letting yourself act quickly on your feet as you need to, but also like knowing that you have your own back, that you will like let things, not get into a war or a shouting match or anything like that, It's like you have those nice skills of loving and caring and gentle, and keeping up a routine. It's like, don't abandon those now just because you have to feel some uncomfortable feelings. But this is potentially influencing you on a practical level towards how you'll be seen in the world, whether that be in your career or just on a general basis by the people who see you. Okay, is there anything else here? Let's do some self-care and then we'll wrap this up. Okay. Doing well, bath. Maybe you've done some Epsom salt bath with crystals, whatever. Or if you've just taken a shower, a soak. It's acknowledging that you've been keeping up with that and it's helping. Add more, forgive them. So forgiveness doesn't come immediately before you've processed your own feelings about the situation. It's a step that kind of naturally happens when you have honored yourself and how you feel. Because after you've acknowledged how you feel and validated why you feel that way and accepted that here you are in this situation, like, it's gonna naturally happen that you will forgive the other. And it doesn't mean that you forget that happened or anything like that, but you're not like in tension over the trying to cope with the unprocessed feelings. So you're not projecting onto them anymore, and you're not holding a grudge, and they're not being the placeholder for your pain because you've processed your pain. You've become the version of yourself that can handle it. So there's no need for grudges and things like that. It's a natural progression is to forgive them, and it's saying, like, to engage in that process when that process is available to you. Too much cleanup. Yeah, this is that nicing it up thing that you're used to doing, which is maybe brushing it under the carpet, not having difficult conversations, ignoring things, putting on the rose-colored glasses, however it may be that you are staying in the routine. It's saying, kind of give that up. Give to self, and it says footwear. And I kind of want to say that it's saying give yourself permission to walk away when you need to. Give away sage. So the others may need to, like, take some time to do something to clear their own energy, and like that might not be a thing that you can help them with, a process that you'll be part of at all. And it's saying solution, be quiet. It's time to be quiet, and that means like quieting your mind as well and not deciding everything ahead of time. Have that general consensus of how you're going to handle things as far as strategy goes, but other than that, it's like, how I'm going to handle this. I'm not going to abandon myself. I'm going to be in presence. I'm going to let the situation impress upon me. I'm going to allow myself to feel what comes up, even if it's subtle anger, even if it's subtle despair or grief or whatever it is that's uncomfortable. I'm going to be present with that, Yeah. Okay. So it's just a reading about processing something uncomfortable, some darker feelings, and it's an acknowledgement at the same time that you have been coping very well with these things and you haven't had the need to, but it's encouraging you to do so because it will open up something else for you. Hold on one sec. So right as I was finishing up, my throat was just kind of getting this like little attack. And I'm just gonna pull some cards from the answers deck, and I'm asking basically, like, should this person be expressing these feelings? And I want to just see what it says. First choice. So what did you think first when you asked yourself that question? Others' opinion, you decide. Related issue, much later. Highest self's view, just ask. So, like, ask, does somebody want to know about it? And if they don't, like, because I've noticed that someone who betrays you probably isn't that interested in understanding you unless it is to manipulate you, and you'll know the difference. Past self, change the story, and confusing, unlikely choice. So it's kind of saying, like, the other people can take it or leave it on your expression. So it's not really for them that you would do it. Like it's like within your own heart, ask yourself, and if you feel the need to express, then that's when you do it. Yeah. And it might be something that you do later, after you've processed through. But you'll know, and check in with yourself on that. Okay? Okay. So that's the reading that we got today. Let me know what you think if you want. And just going to end it there.